Open your eyes, look up to the skies.
See what I see, walk in my shoes, whatever you call it, man. Jay Lamour.
I'm sitting here with Jay Lamour at MajorStage.com, exclusive interview. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
Cool. So this interview is just to get some perspective on who you are as an artist, your struggle, the come up, all that good stuff, independent grinds, new collaborations, partnerships that you have going on.
Definitely.
So we can get into, just letting people know who is Jay Lamour.
Jay Lamour, I mean, it starts off with just the name. There's no stage name. There's no gimmick that comes with it. My name is Jonathan Lamour, and I'm just an individual that loves to make music, loves to get better at his craft, and just trying to bring a great sound back to hip hop, and just do things in a different way. I feel like as independent artists, we're always caught in between the struggle of trying to please mainstream. And then, the other part of the struggle is actually making music that's true to yourself, to your heart. So, I'm the person that's making it cool again to be yourself and not be afraid to be yourself and to own your brand.
And we kind of talked about this a little bit off camera. So style-wise, you have a lot of influences out there, whether they're from back in the day or what you hear on the radio or perhaps your peers. So what do you feel, how do you define yourself, or how do you even think of, okay, before I even record this record or write to this record, what message do I want to send across? What do I want to leave people with, the impression of this is who Jay Lamour is? Is that something you kind of struggle with? And if so, what do you feel you're trying to define your style as?
I wouldn't say that it's difficult. I mean, most times when I'm putting together a record is therapy for myself, really. A lot of my records is I leave myself vulnerable to the listener, and speak about a lot of things that probably wouldn't come up in normal conversation with me. So that's just the process, just really saying what I feel in my heart. When I'm putting together a record.
Cool. Do you sometimes feel like man, I'm the underdog? Like, what do I have to do? Do I have to freaking hire a palm reader to find out if I'm gonna make it?
I mean,
what keeps you motivated? Yeah.
No, man. No matter what the outcome of this is, whether it's a multi-million-dollar deal with a major label, or if I just generate enough income to make a living, no matter what it comes down to, I'm still doing what I love. And as far as it's gotten so far, I'm extremely proud of myself and my music and my brand. So I think when people, of course, you want to set goals and expectations for yourself, but I think with what the music industry is now, it's the major goal is no longer to be signed to to a major label. That's not the ultimate goal for me. The ultimate goal for me is getting my music heard worldwide. So there's so many different avenues that you can get to that point. It's just you don't necessarily need a label.
Right.
And if I do choose to go that route, it's gonna be because the label understands that what I have to bring to the table, and that I'm not just an ordinary rapper, so to speak. I'm actually focused on building a brand and building something that once the music goes away, there's almost like a culture to live by.
Okay.
So
Okay.
definitely.
Speaking of getting music heard, so one of the traditional ways of getting music heard are performing live shows, live events. So you've done a few of our shows at MajorStage.
Definitely.
You've done a few things on your own, obviously. So how do you go about that as far as booking shows, and what do you feel like your goal is at a show? The results. What are people saying about your show?
Well, I mean, I number one, I definitely have to to give tons of credit to MajorStage.com and the Overtime concert series. It really I guess opened my eyes to how effective those kind of shows can be. So my goal every time I step into a venue or step onto a stage rather is to, whether it's, whether 5 people came to see me or whether 500 people came to see me, is just to put on the best show that I possibly could. If you see me live, in a group, in a small venue, I'm gonna give the same kind of effort and the same performance I would as if I was headlining Madison Square. And that's just me, because I feel like any opportunity that you're given, you're supposed to just make the best of it. So when I'm performing, like I said, I just try to put on the best show and try to connect. When I come off stage, I may personally feel like I killed it, but I want to be interactive. I don't want to act like I'm some superstar, and just connect with the person and really trying to leave an impression on that person, because this is somebody that you want as your listener for a lifetime. So there has to be an experience there that you share with that person and make that person be like, yo, I want to check this dude out. So definitely.
And our experience, especially with you, is the fact that you've been consistently professional. Being professional is like so important in terms of building the right relationships, maintaining them, and just fostering relationships that are going to carry over into hopefully a positive and productive career.
Absolutely.
So talk about how important it is to be professional.
I mean, it's extremely important to be professional, and thank you for that. And I think that's that's one of the things that'll separate me from your typical underground artist, because there's a lot of pride that comes in, comes with being an underground artist. Is like, why am I not on? Or I may not need this person, I don't need this person, or I'm better than this person. And it really comes down to if people feel like, if you're somebody that people want to be around, or you're somebody that people gravitate to, and they want to be around you just because you're a good spirit, they're going to want to help you in any way that they could. It may not be the deal that you're looking for, but maybe this person is a photographer, maybe they're a videographer, maybe they promote, or what I'm saying. And there's always something that people can do to help your situation.
Also with the content, I noticed that post shows, whether it's pictures or videos, post content kind of gives you an opportunity to further market yourself via social media. So talk about how important it is to capture that content and then in order to put it out.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's extremely important, because as hard as you promote and you push and you make your calls and you get the promises that people are going to be there, they don't show up. But it's always important to have that, because you're showing them that regardless of the amount of people that show up, or regardless of how much support I have, this is something that I'm still moving forward with. And it's a way to to have people see, like, wow, this is like something that a lot of people are taking interest in, and furthermore, this is something that I want to be a part of. So it's extremely important, and again, it's just a way to put yourself out there a lot more.
Cool. So we noticed at the last show at Jerome in New York City that you just forged a relationship with Nokia. We noticed you did a lot of branding. You had your own table. You had a clothing company on the table. You were, plugging that in via, I believe, a projector on the side of the wall, which I had no idea you were doing. I don't even know where you found the outlet. But so we noticed that, this is the new wave, right? The traditional music industry is about pressing up the records, physical copies, distributing them into stores. Now it's like, how do you, form these partnerships that can give you another avenue for awareness? So tell us about that deal with Nokia. That's a pretty big deal for someone who isn't signed to a major label. Yeah,
it's a huge deal. It's something that's still in the works, but I figure that, artists of myself, I do come from, like a sales and mobile retail company. So being involved with phones and just a tech geek, I'm a tech geek. So, I know a lot about it. And I pitched it to Nokia in the way that, it's important to not only have, somebody that's the face of your brand, but also somebody that's able to pitch something not because we say it's cool, but because we actually know the product. And we know how we can pitch it to, the people that are, exactly. So just try to make them aware that, there is a huge market, in underground hip hop, and I think if you get those consumers on board, you could really push forward, because that's what every company's doing anyway. The Samsung and Jay deal. I think even Jennifer Lopez has her own thing with like Diva Mobile. Alicia Keys getting involved with BlackBerry. So these are all things that I just sit and watch, and you kind of got to pay attention to the wave before it actually begins. And that's the only really way to get yourself out there. I mean, prior to the the Jay-Z and the and Samsung deal, I was already pushing my own app.
Okay.
So and that's the only way I've really been getting listens, because no matter how many cosigns you get from DJs and stuff, if you're not coughing up a couple $1,000s, you're not gonna get play on the radio.
Right. They're gonna talk about you a couple times.
And that's it. And that was the only way. That was my only channel. Was through the app. So if you had an iPhone or Android, you were able to download my app for free. And I've been lucky enough to get over like 10,000 listeners from that app alone. So like I said, it's just, this is the future of the game. CDs and other things like that. It's just they're going to be long gone pretty soon.
Yeah, obsolete pretty
Exactly.
soon. Yeah. So the tip that I take away from this, I think all artists should pay attention to, is you leverage your day job. So a lot of people have day jobs out there, and they can leverage their day jobs to create opportunities for their music career.
Of course,
if they just think outside the box.
And most importantly, to be patient, because I've been doing that job for close to 5 years now, and I was always thinking of ways of how to make it work to my advantage, because the fact of the matter is, you work hard, to get the money to support your craft, but then it's like it consumes a lot of your time, and music is something that you constantly have to be out. You have to be at events, you have to be at shows. So it's how do you balance the two? And when Nokia, shouts to Nokia, they sent me out a free phone, the Nokia 925, Lumia 925, and it clicked. Like this is something that I need to be doing.
So that's a good point you make about money and investing. We can kind of get into that department. So a lot of artists, I feel like, treat it like a hobby, right? You go outside, you play basketball, you take a couple of shots, you get a little better, it fills your ego up, and you get extra confident, you feel like you can play in the NBA.
Right.
Yeah, well, the music industry, part of the creative side and artistic side is that, the competitive nature of hip-hop, but then how about the business side, right?
Exactly.
So in order to sustain a career, or to even give yourself a legitimate shot of making it, you need money. Just like any other business. There's a business plan, there's budgets. So speak on, if you can lend any advice to artists as far as understanding that you need money to make money.
Of course. And it's much bigger than, the studio time and things like that, because the deeper you get into, the independent hip-hop game, you'll get a lot of offers, for people, offering, different services or different dreams, so to speak. And especially when you don't have a major backing, or you don't have, tons of investors, throwing money at you. This is money that you work extremely hard for. So it's of course you want to invest it into yourself, because if you're going to be doing music every day, you have to, find a way for it to make you some residual income. But again, it's really knowing what may be worth your time and money, and what may not be. I've been approached with a number of different things, or people that offer, different services, different promotional services, promotional tools, paying a couple $100 up front to open, for major artists. And, I don't think it's fair, because, it's the independent game. It's really hard, for artists to, fund themselves. And I don't personally like people, that offer those, services just to get a quick dollar. And for me, I'm not going to pay somebody, for something that I can do, or, for somebody that, that's something that somebody on my team can do. And furthermore, I'm not going to spend a couple $100 to open up for an artist, when, that money could be used to finish up a project.
And you have wonderful opportunities with MajorStage, right?
Exactly. No, exactly. And that's why I've developed such a great relationship with MajorStage, because I think, everyone behind it truly understands what it is to be an independent artist, because you guys are essentially independent yourselves, right? And you know, it's a beautiful thing because you always work. From you know, my experience, you guys have always worked with me. You know, no matter what the situation is. Even when I started out, you know, wasn't getting that much people in attendance, but you know, you guys saw something in me that that allowed the relationship to continually build. And a lot of people are not like that. You know, if you're not bringing out, hundreds of people are selling out, or you're not putting $500 up front to hit the stage, they don't want to work with you. And furthermore, they make you feel like you're not serious about your craft. You know what I'm saying? But I'm that serious about my music that I can't put $600 in one thing when I have studio time. I have to wrap up a project. I have photographers to pay, or graphic designers to pay. That money can go much longer than just throwing it away into one thing that might not even be beneficial to you.
Right. And that goes into having a business plan, setting projections, understanding what your expenses are, your overhead, having a decent accountant where you can write things off.
Exactly.
And be able to get a higher return so you can reinvest your own money instead of going out and buying new clothes and going on an elaborate vacation. But these are things that are very, very important in the do-it-yourself model.
Of course. And on top of that, it's not being afraid to lose.
Yeah.
I've spent money through my journey. I've spent money on things that weren't necessarily good for my brand or my music, but that's a lesson learned that I'll never go down that route again. But you have to expect some losses in any small business, that you're pursuing to open or start up.
Speaking of projects, so you have your latest project that you're, I think, working on or completing now, called the Intermission.
Correct.
So tell us about the the journey and making that happen, the idea behind it, and all that good stuff.
Definitely. It's been a long journey. It's almost been about 1.5 years since my first project dropped, I Want More. And the Intermission, the whole idea for the project, it actually, I changed titles twice. One was I wanted to drop an EP at first, and then I was working on another project called No Love Lost, but then Joe Budden dropped the No Love Lost. So I think Intermission was perfect, a perfect title for the project that I was putting together, because Intermission just kind of speaks to the break, and I think it was it's almost like the stop right before the full transition of who Jay Lamour wants to be as an artist and as a brand, as a professional. So I'm really excited about the project. It's definitely a different sound. A lot of my fans have requested for me to do a lot more singing. So it's a lot more records with me singing more hooks. Have a few features, and I think overall everybody will just be able to tell the growth from my first project. What
would you think or say the difference would be from previous projects to this project? The one thing that stands out the most, is it the singing or? Just the growth as an artist. Yeah, I got better. Okay. Nice.
But I think the experiences as well. The experiences were completely different from who I was. When my first project dropped. I was a little angry about just certain life situations, and the Intermission is more of me, honing those situations and stepping into manhood and
rechanneling them.
Exactly. I'm a new father, so it's just, thank you very much. It's just realizing that all these situations that you're placing, whether you feel like they're good or bad for you at the time, they're just all lessons for you to grow and to become better. So I think that's what Intermission is really about. It's really accepting everything for what it is and continuing to get better.
Good stuff. So any last words that you think you can kind of lend some final advice to emerging artists or artists that are starting to, or thinking about even just picking up that book and writing some rhymes, what advice would you give them?
I mean, my advice is that anything that you want to do, you're going to have a ton of discouragement coming from, whether you're enemies or even friends or family members. But the bottom line comes down to, if you wake up in the morning and the first thing that you think about or the first thing that you dive into is music, that's what you need to be doing for the rest of your life. And not just writing your life away, but trying to figure out if this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, I have to find a way to make this support me and my family and my friends. And so, again, it's just, you know, really not listening to any negativity that's around you. And also a word of advice for me, like, I use this advice myself. I don't listen to anything mainstream. And I think we spoke about that previously. It could get extremely discouraging, you know, to the sound of music that you want to make versus what you hear, what's actually getting played or getting publicity. It's, you know, it's really discouraging to listen to, and that these are the artists, you know, these are the artists that are making it. But I think if you do those two things, man, just stay in your lane and do what you want to do and do what you love and constantly grow and don't let anybody, you know, alter your thinking. You can't lose that.
Used to take the 4 to the 7 to home a 9/11. Private school had me thinking just like a molecule. But how could you ridicule a dude who wasn't concerned with school? I was concerned with food. I just wanted to eat. Shorty's looking like Stan, so I just wanted to be. And mama thinking degrees. I'm thinking about you and me, and to a certain degree.